Why can't I get out of bed in the morning? Such a perplexing question, and it seems like a lot of people suffer from not being able to get out of bed even if they wake up. It's just that act of getting out of bed. And of course I looked into the science and I looked into the research because I'm a nerd and I do things like that. So, there's two hormones that work with the sleep-wake cycle. Cortisol and melatonin. There's probably other ones, but in the science and the research that I looked at, those were the two that were identified. So cortisol makes us feel more wakeful, and in the morning its release is stimulated because of sunlight. Then melatonin, it's released after it starts to get dark, and it makes you feel sleepy. It's usually released about an hour or two before your set time of going to sleep. Now, my first thought might be like, okay, so the person needs to get more sunlight, or they need to get more light into the room. The person's not going to get out of bed to turn on lights to help them get out of bed. So I started wondering about the bed itself, and in my opinion it's just one big metaphor, and although I look at the science and the research, I tend to think of things in stories. So the bed, as far as I'm concerned, is a metaphor for your comfort zone. It is where you know where everything is, you know exactly who you are, you're comfortable, you're relaxed. Sometimes when we dream, we fantasize different things and we want to be that person, or we want to be in that place. And when we wake up, we're faced with reality. We're given a healthy dose of what reality is. And of course, a lot of times when we wake up, the thoughts start coming in like, oh, I have to do this, I should be doing this, I gotta do this, that, whatever. And that can be very limiting. But it is our comfort zone. It's where we feel relaxed. It's very much like the mother's womb. We know what's going on, we know what to anticipate. It's warm, especially in these cold months. It's warm, so we don't want to leave it. The funny thing is they say that sleep is the cousin of death. Sleep is the cousin of death. It's a very extreme thing to say, right? I mean, we'll read about how sleep is very rejuvenating, and it helps us as far as assimilating facts or processing what we process throughout the day and finalizing it into memory. And then it is also physically restorative, but it's also damaging if it's too much. And if we're awake but we can't get out of bed, then that's when sleep or our bed is a limiting factor. And I think, in my experience, the reason why I can't get out of bed, okay, so number one, it might be too cold. So I always go through barriers in my head. If it's too cold and I can't get out of bed, I have to make it such that when I'm warm in my bed, no matter what I do as far as my first few steps out of bed should also be warm. So I put a hoodie next to my bed. Or I might wear a lot of layers to sleep. We don't know where to take that first step. And you can't get out of bed because you can't decide to take that first step. You're choosing relaxation and comfort over the uncertainty, which is completely understandable, and I've made that decision before too. In a lot of ways, I feel like, of course, growth comes at the end of our comfort zone, so even just getting up out of bed shows to ourselves that, even when we don't want to get out of bed, it shows to ourselves that we're willing to exit comfortable situations to become who we're supposed to be. So what we do today is what matters most, because there is no past and there is no future. It is all creations in our head. And when we're in a body, that body is always in the present moment. So when we look at our trajectory and we want to be somewhere else, we have to get out of bed. because it's physical. It's doing actions. It is also like processing information, thinking, but our body and our mind have to follow each other. So if your body is in bed, your mind's not going to be progressing you. And then if your body is out of bed, it is moving forward. When you're able to change your circumstances of being out of bed, when you want to stay in bed, then that is movement, that is going forward. So you won't be plagued as much with inertia or feeling stuck, because you're embodying your thoughts, you're moving forward physically, so then you can move forward mentally. I mean, this is one big metaphor, and who knows if anyone will give a rat's ass about what I'm saying. I'm still putting the camera out and exposing my thoughts to the world. And I get up out of bed because I see my potential. Sleep is the cousin of death. When we sleep too much, we're killing our potential self.